guys, today I want to talk a little bit about air filters in general, and then I want to talk about the cleanable, reusable, oilable air filters from K&N, Fram Air Hogs, and a bunch of other brands out there. Something like this, the cotton gauze ones you can clean, and all the problems that they cause. Alright, the first thing I want to talk about is the old style paper filters just like this. They're pretty basic, and there's a bunch of different varieties out there, and the biggest thing you need to look out for, they're all pretty much the same as far as the pleats on here and how well it's all made. I've seen a few really cheap ones where the cap right there, that's that bullet nose for this type of vehicle, actually falls off because the glue just is subpar. And the biggest thing though is this right here, this foam gasket on the end here. This is what actually seals up your air filter housing. Your air filter housing is not perfectly sealed. It's just two plastic pieces coming together, and it relies on this foam seal right here to actually seal it up. So this thing gets damaged or it's really thin, it'll actually cause a lot of airflow disturbance past your mass airflow sensor, not to mention passing on dirt. The best ones I've found for these, believe it or not, are the Motorcraft ones. The seal on here is so thick that it's actually hard to get the two pieces of the air filter housing together and clamp down. That's how thick and plush it is, and that's definitely going to keep all the dirt out of there. So that's a good test for it. You'll be able to tell just by that. If you have access to it, no question about it, get the Motorcraft ones. But if you do, go get the air filters from the store. Just make sure this seal on the end here, this foam seal, is nice and plush and thick on there, so that it certainly seals it up and does its job. You want to filter the air, not bypass it. Now the other thing is just how well it fits inside of this housing on here. You can see this one isn't made exactly for it. It might be a little bit more of a generalized filter for a couple different Fords. I don't use the conical filters, and it just does not seal properly. And I'll show you just how well it does not seal here in a second once you look at the intake tube on here. That's a very good indication how well your air filter is actually working. Now what you need to realize is right after the air filter usually is the mass airflow sensor. So you want the air to be as straight as possible as it passes across it, and therefore the most accurate measurement on there. And of course you can't be getting any kind of dirt on here, or oil, or caked up, or bugs, or anything on here, because it can actually calculate the airflow improperly based on the hot wire sensing element inside of there and just the way it's designed in there. This one you can see they got a bunch of dirt going through there, and of course oil from the filter, and look at that hot wire sensing element in there. It's absolutely coated, and it's not reading right at all. This can cause lean codes, rich codes. It just depends how it is actually contaminated in there. A lot of times when you cover it up, bug, a wing of a bug, something like that, it'll cause lean codes in there, and it gets overlooked a lot. Now the even bigger indication is this right here. This is the side that's actually going to the throttle body, and you could see inside here just how much fine powder and dust is getting through there and ending up over here and dusting the engine literally. And when you dust the engine, you can lose compression on it quite fast in a short amount of mileage. So you definitely don't want to do that, especially not this much. This is really, really bad actually. And this is how it should look once the air filter goes in there. And it kind of self-centers. It goes all the way to the edge on here because there's only a thin edge on the inside here where it actually contacts the seal up. So it has to go to the very outer edge on here. It's very important on this style air filter. Also, a quick note on cold air intake systems. I absolutely despise them also, because you think that Ford engineers or Chrysler engineers or Chevy engineers don't know any better? Where do you think it's getting all its air from? The fender, which is constantly getting fed cold air, ambient temperature as you're going down the road. There already is a cold air on your vehicle. Now yeah, these air filters are good for life with your engine, but they're going to be the end of the life of your engine if you keep using them on there. And speaking of horsepower gains, that's the other reason they say to use these, horsepower gains. We actually had a actual muscle car, okay, put it in with stock air filter, and we put it on the dyno. And then we came out, we changed out the air filter with a K&N air filter, a high flow system on there, and the actual horsepower actually dropped by about 10 to 15 horsepower. So it doesn't always equal a horsepower increase either.